I figured something else out, which is a lot of people that are not citizens. Okay, these aren't done by citizens of Canadian, and the ones that are, they're getting deported and getting their citizenship revoked because apparently it was affecting other people's businesses and it was illegal, and they're trying to convince me that they're not taking it seriously, like the British government. And I'm like, no, they take that kind of stuff really seriously. Like, that's what they were trying to tell me, that we as the British Parliament take that kind of stuff very seriously. It doesn't seem like it because there's so much stuff going on, like they're letting this happen, but regardless of like the things that are happening, like the consequences that they actually dole out is real and serious. Okay, like this is with every government. If it wasn't like this, they would fail very quickly. And a lot of them were white supremacists, and they came here out of Europe because they had a hard time getting a job in Europe because of the fact that they're racist, right? And unlike other Europeans who are functional and sane, if you're racist, you're gonna have a hard time working anywhere. Like, that's the problem, right? And with any racist, they always blame the person that they're racist towards for their racism, because it's not normal to be racist, and it's a defense mechanism. Like, you know, those psychological projections that people have on defense, like regression and stuff, those are defense mechanisms that people go through in order not to have to, like, well, they'll get shocked, basically. Yeah, that's their face when they realize like it was them all along. I should stop making fun of them. But the reason why, there's a guy around here and he won't stop yelling. I don't know what he's yelling about. I don't know if he speaks English, but he's very scared. I know that. And he's very frustrated and angry. And the reason why he's scared and frustrated and angry is because, for whatever reason, I'm not actually like hurt by any of this, because it's illegal what they're doing, and regardless of who stole my things, they're gonna return it because I reported all those things and it's their job. And the police are angry because they're actually liable for sexual assault, which is why a bunch of women came by, because they were involved in the sexual assault, which is why they're getting their citizenship revoked. Right? Like, this, you're doing something against something a British, like, I'm a Canadian citizen, which means that they recognize me as a lawful entity. Anything to go against my rights as a citizen is called treason. That's what that's called. I know people don't recognize it as treason because they're stupid. This is why they're not actual citizens. This is why a lot of immigrant people have a hard time finding their citizenship status here. I mean, apart from the fact that they don't speak English fluently, apart from the fact that they're not very skilled laborers, all that kind of stuff. But truth is, that's why they are not granting people citizenship. I mean, they say it's 10 years, but they're expecting them to die within those 10 years. Right? But that guy's angry and he's scared because he didn't know that he was going to face consequences for his actions. And again, a lot of people had to tell me, I didn't know this. They actually have families abroad that are giving them money to support their life living here. I thought they came here on their own without any money, or came here to like make a living for themselves. They said no, actually a lot of them have families. In fact, all of them have families who have sent them money, significant sum of money, for them to be able to live here. I know I look like I'm frowning and I'm sad, and it's because that's how they're like, but when somebody's in that much distress, that's how you're supposed to respond. Right? You can't, like, if somebody's crying and bawling their eyes out, as much as I hate that person, I'm not gonna go and like make fun of them at that time. Right? It's not okay for somebody to do that, because it's just kind of like, you're not really making the situation any better, and also that person is in significant distress. Maybe that's not the time to say something like that, no matter what that person has done to you. That's what I personally believe in. And also, it's actually made a lot of social interactions go a lot smoother. If I didn't do that, they're actually liable to like lash at me violently, like very aggressively and very violently. So like I'm trying to also reduce that, like the chances of that happening, right? Like, I don't want someone to be very upset and very, like, in a very bad mood, very negative mood for whatever reason, and then, like, me attacking them, even though I have every right to, is just going to cause them to become, like, more unstable than they actually are. They're gonna cause them to lash at me violently. But, the thing is, like, people didn't believe that they can get their citizenship revoked, and they didn't believe that, like, they thought it was okay for me to be raped by police officers, even though I didn't do anything illegal. Which is what I didn't understand about what they were doing, but they didn't know it was because they were being racist. I was better than those girls, and I wasn't white, which is what set them off. And also, I don't like white girls because they're like that. So they're like, oh, you deserve to be raped? Like, that again, this is where that's racist logic. That's actually snail logic. I don't want to be, like, rude about all of it, but, like, they're like bugs. Like, their logic and their functioning is just like bugs. And not everybody who's white is racist, which is just them ruining their own reputation. Like, I get that. And I also get that, like, the reason why people get racist is because they're poor, right? I also get that. And I also get that, like, they're trying their best to try to preserve their own species. Like, they want to keep their European ethnic heritage going, right? Like, they're proud of their heritage and they want it to be a thing of a future. And it's like, at the same time, like, how are you gonna preserve your heritage and keep your heritage going if you're completely useless and actually harmful, if not useless, harmful to every other human being, including your own? They don't see this because, again, the whole psychological defense mechanisms, right? A lot of people didn't take psychology, so they wouldn't know about this, okay? Even if you have an undergrad degree, if you never took a psychology course, how would you know? One of the common psychological defense mechanisms, right? I think there's might be, I don't know, maybe there's eight psychological defense mechanisms. If you Google it, there's a lot of wrong answers on there, so don't go by that. It's regression, which is going back to an earlier age where you felt comfortable. So, like, if you see a grown man act like a 15-year-old, literally, like, to the T, that's called regression. Excuse me. This is how the mind protects itself from, like, a racist who doesn't know that they're racist. That's how they're protecting themselves from potential PTSD. But, like, it actually, like, they'll end up developing it sooner or later, but it's kind of like how they're trying to mask it, I guess. Regression, and there's projection. So projection is when somebody, like, is convinced somebody else is that, not them. So, like, I don't know that I'm wearing this blue sweater. I think somebody else is wearing the blue sweater. So, I mean, you're the one wearing the blue sweater, you idiot. Like, I'm completely convinced of this. That's projection. Denial is not even admitting to what's happened or what they've done. Regression, denial, projection. There's some other stuff I don't really remember. Repression is different from denial. Denial is not even acknowledging it, and repression is actively avoiding and forgetting about it. That's repression. So, like, I don't think that's a thing in this is a thing in psychology, but I don't think it's a defense mechanism. Transference is like treating, this is a I've seen this happen in therapy quite often. Oh, that's why they don't want to put her in therapy. I actually saw Susan doing transference because she thought that I was somebody else. Like, she started to treat me as if I was somebody else. And that happens quite frequently with therapists. They say that when a patient is going through therapy, they have a hard time, like, actually, like, understanding the boundaries. A lot of them end up in therapy because they have problems, okay? Not always, but most of them do. Some of them are forced into it. but like when they do that, like they start going through these defense mechanisms, and it's hard to treat them. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if you can see him right there.
Hi.
Were you the one yelling earlier?
My bad. I didn't know anyone was in there.
No, I don't really care, but like I don't understand why you're trying to talk to me.
Pardon?
I don't understand why you're trying to talk to me.
Oh no, I wasn't yelling at you. No, I was just like laying. I was sleeping here. I heard.
I'm sorry that you're racist and your life isn't going well, but it's not my personal fault. You know that, right?
Miss.
I actually don't know you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you can leave me alone, it'll be great. Please don't ever talk to me again. Okay? Bye. God, what a weirdo. He's like so upset. He was frowning. I think, okay, maybe some people think I'm mocking them, but I am a little bit because of the type of person I am. Because I think they're being ridiculous. Honestly, I'm like, why are you upset about the things that you've done if that's what you intended to do and that's what you wanted to get done? And why are you crying about it after? Like, that's what I expect from like 1-year-olds, you know? 1-2-year-olds, toddlers. Apparently, some parents have actually told me, you have no idea how hard it is to actually like put up with a toddler. And I'm like, I've never had kids, so I wouldn't know, but I see like from pictures and how other people are around kids. They're like, it's literally sometimes you want to strangle them because like their logic isn't all there yet. They're not fully developed. So they're like that. Like, but I'm like, these guys are like toddlers, and that's what they're saying. They're like, yeah, they're like toddlers. We didn't even know they were real, like they even existed. Because these are people from like wealthier backgrounds. Right? So, like, they actually never encounter people like that, and they didn't expect this to be a problem in the government. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know how long it's been a problem. I don't know if it's specifically around me. I think that's how they were hiding it. So anything that I was coming across, I would see a lot of problems, and I was like, why are you doing that? And they're like, so that people think that there's something wrong with you, because it's unlikely that... And I'm like, I don't think that, because a lot of people know that with the lower income households and the low income areas are known to be problematic. You know, like, this is why people are like, inner city areas have like all these like crime rates, these school shootings. A lot of people are like yeah. Oh, that's what she was like. I have no idea. I had a weird dream. Apparently some cop is gonna get killed at work. And he was saying it was me, and I'm like, I don't work with you, dude. Like, I'm not at work with you. And apparently he said that because I was right about everything, including the sexual assault charges. And I'm like, well, why would you do that? And then another thing is like, there's this other kid, and he's like, he has a girlfriend who's clearly insane. And she was ripping off of me. I have no idea how she even got a job. But she stopped working for Disney after. That's the only thing I noticed that they all had in common, is that they worked for Disney at one point. All these people who are kind of like, there's something not really right with them. And I think it's because that's why Disney hired them. So like, at least while they're working for Disney, there wouldn't be a problem. And then afterwards, they're on their own. But like, yeah, there's this kid who was dating this girl who used to work for Disney, and he like tried to convince me that like I was like her, because she was copying me and like ripping off me and making money off of that kind of stuff, which is illegal. It's copyrighted material, right? And also it's illegal for her to do that and keep that money, which is why she's in debt. Okay, it looks like she's wealthy, which is what they're trying to present her as. I mean, the whole point of the company's even hiring her, after knowing about that, is to tell people that's what people are like when they're in debt. And if you see somebody like this, don't be fooled. They're in a lot of debt. That's it. They're like only people who are willing to showcase themselves like that are people like that. He's actually lying and making it up. I don't know why they do this. Again, they said that's actually what 5-year-olds are known to do. The other people who have kids, they're like, toddlers are like that because their brains aren't fully developed and they don't know, they haven't had that much experience just in life. They just started to learn how to walk and talk, and they just started meeting new people. So this is them getting a grasp at things. And the 5-year-olds, when they don't want other people to know how they feel, they do that kind of stuff. And I'm like, they get older and they get better, which means like you expect that from children, right? Like, I know when I meet a kid, like a legitimate toddler, I'm not expecting too much from the toddler. My goal when I meet the toddler is to make sure that that toddler is not crying, and even if he's crying or she's crying, at least she's already been fed and had a nap and was taken to the bathroom. So I'm like, if those things are done and that toddler's crying, I don't know, and they're like, yeah, they cry for no reason all the time, and I'm like, I thought that was like a specific toddler thing. He's like, no, like sometimes they'll look at something and they don't like what they're looking at and there's nothing wrong with it and they'll just start crying, and it stresses them out, and they're like, sometimes like it's embarrassing what they do, and the parents don't know what to do about it because it's their kid, but they're like, they weren't like that. They asked their parents, and their parents, they weren't like that when they're kids. Again, they're different people, right? And like they said, it's harder to raise kids. This is why people tell them to like just go on their iPad and their iPhones and their computers, because it keeps them quiet and occupied, and they don't actually get into things like breaking other people's stuff or breaking their own stuff or like throwing a tantrum or like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like they're like, yeah, at least at the end of the day they're not doing that. And I'm like, I didn't know kids were that rambunctious, like they run around and get into all that stuff. And they're like, adults do that too, but they've learned not to do it because they get into actual legal problems, right? They face significant legal issues or like social consequences from doing those things. It becomes socially unacceptable, right, as they get older. And that's enough of a pressure for some people not to do it. I don't know what he's talking about. He's very stupid. I can tell. He doesn't look stupid though. I think that's a specifically Canadian thing with the poor people here. They don't look like that, but they are like that. I don't know if it's like that in the Americas, like down in the USA. Also, speaking of which, people who like go through these defense mechanisms are like, nobody wants to put up with it, which is why they're expensive. The therapists that you have to pay for, they're like $200-$300 an hour, right? And also, well, what is he talking about before? I'm pretty sure it was defense mechanisms, and that was therapists and that guy, and that's a lot that I was mentioning. What? Oh yeah, and then the kid who was like in my dream, he was like, I don't know how. Oh my god, look at Prestige, sweetie, why are you off the bed? The kid in my dream, like, he was trying to convince me I was like his girlfriend, and like the girl that he actually liked was some fat white nurse, and I'm like, I don't know if you're trying to say that I'm the fat white nurse and everything wrong with your girlfriend is like what I'm like. And I'm like, are you trying to be nice, or are you trying to make fun of me? Like, are you trying to say that like you'll still accept me even with all my problems? And it's still nothing compared to whatever she's going through, which is just weird. I mean, he's younger than me, which is why I feel weird about it. I'm like, I don't want to get hit on by a younger guy. I feel weird. I feel like no guy wants me. Literally, like, how come nobody my age wants to like get married to me? Like, this is kind of weird, isn't it? I think it's weird. I'm like, why? Why doesn't anyone my age want anything to do with me? Why do I have all these little boys doing that? It's just weird. Oh, I just realized something. Yeah, anyway, yeah, this little kid, and he's been trying to like get at me, and I don't know why he's trying to holler at me. I thought he was initially trying to steal from me, but turns out like he was doing his best to be nice to me because he has a girlfriend. I'm like, that makes no sense. That's why I think he's a kid. I'm like, if you have a girlfriend, why are you trying to mac on me? Like, that makes no sense. But like, I guess because she was copying me, and he's like, like that. Like, oh, I can't believe this. She's white. They're both white, by the way. And there's another kid trying to mac on me, but at least he's a little older. I'm still older than him, so I'm like, yeah. And a lot of people. Okay, there's this Japanese comic book genre called yaoi or something, and yaoi it's like it's a portmanteau, or like it's an abbreviation, right? It's kind of like saying Tor browser, TOR, it stands for something. Yeah, that's what yaoi was like. And then the people, like, there were people who were tracking my online website activity, and they thought that, like, I was legitimately, like, interested, and, like, that's what turned me on. And I'm like, can you say this out loud, like, what I'm reading? And he's like, she's reading a wholesome story about two grown men in love with each other and living a healthy life and making love to each other. That's what that is. And I'm like, that's not what that is. Or maybe that's why. Okay, that's not what they're talking about. I know that's why they presented it, but that's not what that means. And I think that's why a lot of people got angry, and like when they figured out, I'm like, that's not what they talk. I'm like, that's not what they're talking about, and they're like, oh my god. Also, like, because it wasn't actually people involved, it wasn't technically porn, so some guy was trying to say, like, oh, it's the closest thing to porn, right? Like, that's why you're reading it? And I'm like, no. Honestly, that's not what they were talking about, and I'm really kind of embarrassed, actually, kind of like, I'm not embarrassed for reading it, I'm embarrassed that, like, they thought something else. Which is kind of like the whole point of people reading that stuff, which is like I find it personally relatable, because like, you know, like these series people think it's perverted, but it actually stands for something. Like a lot of men I've met, like they seem like really perverted, but they're not actually that perverted. I mean, it's just kind of sexual and animalistic, and I guess it's not the most socially acceptable way to go about it. And like yaoi, like it stands for something, like, you know, like it stands for like some rights or whatever, and it's actually like meanings behind it. It's not just a sound. And also it's definitely not like, you know, like I thought people understood it, okay? I didn't think there was a girl who was like super into that. But I'm like, she actually thought that it was about two grown men having sex with each other. That's what she was like. She liked that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's not what that is. Okay, it's not gay porn. It's, but like, because that's not what they're talking about. With pornographic content, that's literally what they're talking about. But that's not what they were talking about. But because it's written, like, it'd be so boring if it was literally word for word what that is. Like, nobody would want to read it, and it would just, people would lose interest immediately. Yeah, but it's kind of like hard to tell people that, right? So you have to pick up on it on your own, like what it's about. It's so funny. But yeah, people thought that I like that kind of stuff. Like, I like lesbian porn and like gay porn, and I'm like, cause I'm a homosexual or whatever, and I'm like, I'd love to agree with you. Like, it seems like that. Like, it literally, like, it would make sense if it was that way. But the truth is, they're talking about, okay, fine, I guess I could. They're really talking about, like, their legal problems and what it feels like to get fucked by the man. And how much they hate white people and why they have to let him in the country. Like, that's what they were talking about. But it was really, like, it would have been really offensive and vulgar if they said how they felt out loud in, like, a book form, which a lot of English people actually do. And sometimes, like, it's not offensive in English, that's the thing, because it's called an opinion, right? And no matter how offensive and vulgar it may be, because it's an opinion, English people know that it's not something that they have to go by at work. They shouldn't be going by at work. Like, if you're an actual qualified professional in a position, like, they don't actually go by that kind of stuff. Like, that's their own personal opinion, that's how they feel, and they have every right to feel that way, but that shouldn't affect their relationship, and they shouldn't affect their job or their career. But that's in English. Like, a lot of people who aren't English or who aren't fluent in English may have a hard time with that part. But anyway, there's opinion articles everywhere. If you see the newspaper, there's an entire section for editorials and opinions. Editorials are like a career version of your opinion. So it's just, in my professional point of view, this is what I think this is to be, and this is how I project. These are the trajectories and the trends that I'm currently seeing, and this is how, based on my career path, usually how I think about this, right? Whereas an opinion article is solely I don't like this, I hate this, and this is why. These are the things I like, and these are the things I don't like, and this is why. This is completely opinionated. You're not supposed to argue or go back and forth on people's opinions. That's their preferences, and then expressing how they feel. And that's completely fine. I prefer not to go there. Like, I don't really like talking about my opinions, because it's just not because they're controversial or anything. It's just always have somebody talking back at you, against you, because they don't agree with your opinion. And it's like, I don't really like that kind of conversation. Some people love it. It's like a debate. Debates are actually closer to like editorial articles. An actual debate is a thorough and researched point of view with another individual who goes against your point of view in order for you to reach some sort of agreement. That's a debate. You have to reach an agreement. That's it. Okay, I will tell you. That's what that yaoi stuff. It's about them not liking the fact that they had to allow Europeans in their country, because they said a lot of them didn't understand anything, and they're right, because a lot of them are poor, and they weren't like that in their country. Like in Japan, they're not actually like that. Even the poor people who don't have a lot of finances, but they said they're very simple, they're very vulgar, and they only like to go by how much material wealth they have, which they found very offensive and very, very vulgar. And also, like, they said they have a hard time communicating with them because they don't understand that other people are different from theyre, and they've found this a consistent problem with them, and this is how they felt about getting screwed by their government, saying like immigration is not doing anything about it, all these people aren't doing anything about it, why not? And it's them saying like, we don't like them here, like we can't get along with them, this is our country, why are you letting these people in here? And immigration, the government is like, we're legally obligated to do so, and also they're not actually causing problems. You may not like these people, but it doesn't really mean that they're gonna actually hurt you, and they're not gonna, they're here to like do something illegal or steal from you, which some of them were, but they said there's a way to resolve that, which is why we set these governments up. And the people who are government in their country also agree with us, so that's how we're going about doing these things. And a lot of people in Japan didn't like that. So this is kind of like, I mean, a lot of them just didn't really care about it. I guess they learned to put up with it in a different way, but this is how they felt. Like, it's kind of like their opinions about like, oh, this is what it's like to like go through the legal system in Japan. Some of them, it wasn't talking about white people at all. It's just I'm from a poor family, and I try to move up a social class, and these are the problems that I encountered. And that's like how they're presenting it. Like, it seems weird that they're presenting with two guys, and it's through conversation. So the conversation is still there, but it's two guys like fucking each other. Not really. Like, they're literally legitimately making love to each other. It's just kind of weird. Like, it just makes me angry at that point. So like, I just ignore that part, which is how they felt. Like, they're like, there's some stuff that makes them so angry, they just ignore it because they can't continue to be angry all the time, which I found hilarious now that I think about it. It's actually quite funny. I'm gonna have to go to 7-Eleven and like find some food. I'm like, there was a 29 bus that goes from here. Wait, is that east, north? I gotta go southbound. And then right at St. Clair West and Dufferin is... where my food is, I guess. Alright, I don't really feel like going all that far. At least people telling me that they're scared of me, and also that, like, not only that, but like that they're like, what do you call, I'm not scared of being assaulted, they are, but like I've been trying to like get them to ignore it by like letting the projection sink through. I don't know if that's mean. I think that must be a little mean. Yeah, so that's what that was about. And a lot of people actually thought that I liked that kind of stuff, like boy love, like people just like, I'm just like, that's so Greek of you. Like only Greek people think that kind of stuff is normal, but they're weird. Like they're really weird. Also, it taught me how to read Greek, and I'm like, no, I can't read Greek, but it taught me how to go about reading them, which is always helpful. I mean, it's I guess a lot of people are bad at me. I'm gonna go to 7-Eleven because I gotta pick up a pack of smokes, and why are cigarettes so expensive? Can I just get like a carton and be done with it? Like, I'm pretty sure I spent $100 on cigarettes this month. Yeah, I did. That's about how much a carton costs. Oh. Even if I bought a carton, that's how much I would spend on it. So, like, I guess it's the same fucking shit. Jesus.